Hey there! Are you a crime scene investigator, law enforcement officer, or forensic scientist looking for a Facebook community that understands you? Check out Taction USA's forensic product groups. You'll find blogs, articles, information, and community. For those of us in the investigative field, there are not many lines of support out there, but Taction USA is a company that was founded by law enforcement for law enforcement. Subscribe today to get access to exclusive content. Just look for Taction USA in Facebook groups.
Hello and welcome back to Crossing the Tape. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Hillary.
And this is part 2 of Dolly, Queen of Los Angeles.
Yes.
Please sign the crime scene log and join us. But first, let's recap.
Yes.
Now, what do we know so far?
So far, we know that Dolly Osterich moved...
Wahlberger.
True. We know she moved from Milwaukee to Los Angeles with her textile-owning husband, Fred. After Fred found a 20-something-year-old man had been sneaking into their home for a year, making him think their house was haunted.
Poor Fred.
Yeah.
But he was just drinking too much,
I know, that was her excuse. Remember, if you remember from the last time, that every time he would say, hey, my cigars are missing or food's
Things
missing, she would go, nah, you're drinking too much.
You got drunk last night and you did all that stuff.
Right. But he was sure it was a ghost, which does not explain the food thing, but all right.
But then he finds a guy eating his food.
Right.
He's like, well, son of a gun.
Right. So after 4 years, then they moved to L.A. So after 4 years in L.A., Dolly was locked in the closet one night by an unknown person who then shot Fred to death and stole his diamond pocket watch, as well as some cash. And if you remember that there were other valuables in the house. Not taken. Right. That's the main point.
Fred's wallet.
Yes. Which was on his person.
Yeah. You're standing over the guy shooting him, and you take his watch out of one pocket.
Right.
Pocket watch. Out of his pocket. But not his wallet.
But remember that when Dolly heard about everything, she asked immediately, where's the watch?
Yes. She said, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where's his watch?
Right.
And they said, oh, it's not here, it's not on his body.
Which, to me, that's a strange thing. It's the first thing you're going to say is, where's the watch?
Well, first she identified his body and then fainted. But second, she said, where
is the watch?
My departed, beloved Fred, his watch.
So, as we mentioned before, Dolly moved on very quickly.
Yeah. And
began dating Herman Shapiro, her estate lawyer. Because, remember, she inherited quite a bit of money from Fred.
She needed to settle all those affairs. And
right.
I'm sure there was still business in Milwaukee.
Yeah, she had to take care of everything.
And the new business in L.A.
Mm-hmm. So, after dating a bit, Dolly gifted Shapiro a diamond pocket watch, which she said used to belong to her late husband.
Yeah.
So, she's asking where the watch is, and now she's giving it away to her new lover.
Just a few months later, she gives her new man, here's a nice diamond watch for you.
Right.
And that's where we left you last time.
Yes. And we did give you one other bit of information.
Just a little tease.
Just a tease that maybe police would have gotten farther if they had looked in the attic.
Yeah.
Remember, attics were...
death.
Right. Because the attics were important to Dolly.
Yes, she had an attic in Milwaukee, and she wouldn't move to L.A. without an attic in their home.
Right.
And after Fred
died... And that was
died,
uncommon.
Yes, yeah, there's not really attics in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And after Fred's death, she inherited everything and bought a new home, but made sure it had an attic.
Right. So Shapiro, her attorney, who is now her lover...
Her man.
Was surprised by the gift, not only because it was a pretty sweet watch. I mean, come on.
Hey, diamond watch in the 20s?
Yeah.
Hello. That's why we had a depression. People were buying frivolous watches.
But it was stolen by an anonymous murderer, and now Dolly suddenly had it back?
Makes no sense.
No. So when Shapiro asked how she got it back, Dolly explained it had fallen into the couch cushions. and it was never actually stolen. So she just came upon it.
Yeah, she just came in one day.
But she added that she didn't tell the detectives because she didn't think that they needed to know.
Yeah, that's no big deal. They're out here looking for this watch. As part of the murder.
Well, yeah, because
to tie it to the case.
Yes. If somebody pawned it or something, that would be a way to tie the murderer to the scene.
Yeah.
But
she found it in the couch cushions and went, well, whatever. They'll still find the man who killed Fred.
She has a very flippant attitude.
She does.
Because when her husband, who we talked about before, that era,
mm-hmm.
though, wives were more subservient and, whatever the husband says goes. And during that time, instead of, when he said he thought it was a ghost, instead of agreeing with him or maybe quietly saying, I don't know about that, she just went, nah, you're drunk. I mean, maybe some bluntness is good. I mean, I can be blunt. But
but to that end, her sort of flippant attitude or,
right,
kind of disregarding her husband, which, hey, sometimes you got to disregard somebody. But
not your spouse.
For the era, that was very uncommon.
Yeah.
But we didn't mention it before. At one point in Milwaukee, one of the shadows that Fred thought he saw move in front of the attic window as they were leaving the house one day, and he looked back and saw movement. He said, I knew it. There's somebody in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
It's either a ghost or there is somebody in our house. I'm going up there to check. And she went, Fred, I'll go check. And he went, no, I will go check. She said, Freddie, come on, I'll check. And then he said, okay. And she went up in the attic and came back down and said, there's nothing up here. You are an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Fred. Which is remarkable that she just went, no, stay down here. I will see if there's an intruder. And apparently, maybe Fred was drunk. Who knows? But all right, babe, you got it.
So, unfortunately for Dolly, she was still the number one suspect in her husband's murder. Almost a year after Fred's death, one of the homicide investigators met with Shapiro and noticed he had a fancy new watch.
Incredible.
He explained how he received that watch, and the detective seized it and went to confront Dolly about it suddenly reappearing. Dolly insisted she had never seen this watch before and didn't know what Shapiro was talking about.
Two-faced.
She is manipulative.
Here's a new watch. What watch? I don't know anything about a watch. Who's Shapiro?
You must be drunk too.
These cops are drunk. Shapiro, he's drunk. I like to think that was her defense for everything.
Yeah, I know. Now you're drunk.
Ma'am, you just backed into my car. Nah, you're drunk. And she speeds off.
So the next break in the case came when a man by the name of Roy Clum came forward to police and stated he was a former lover of Dolly's, but upon learning she was also dating Shapiro, he ended his involvement. So, if she had not married so well, would have been a woman of ill repute.
Well,
she already
would still
was.
dispute her repute.
Well, she's still a woman of, you know what I mean.
Yes. But she may have found other ways to make her money.
Right.
Possibly. But she moved on from her husband.
Quickly.
And doubly.
Yeah.
She's got Shapiro and this other fellow, Roy.
So, however, when they were together, Dolly asked him for a strange favor. And so he's telling Clum, the other lover, is telling the police this. That when they were together, Dolly brought him a .25 caliber pistol.
What?
And told him the gun was hers. And given it was the same caliber as the gun used to kill Fred, she felt it was best to get rid of the gun so the police wouldn't mistake her for the killer. Okay. And this man listened.
A .25 caliber gun at the time was seen as a lady's gun. Okay. Small caliber.
Yeah.
Which gave the detectives pause initially.
Right.
Said, well, he shot 3 times with a .25 caliber. What proper burglar man would come into a home with a .25?
But it's a burglar. He could have stolen it or came across it,
And, small
weapon
calibers,
of opportunity.
Yeah, small caliber arms could be effective. But the detectives thought that was fishy.
Right.
This is a girly gun. She must have been involved.
So she asked Roy to throw the gun into the La Brea tar pits.
Whoa.
Which he did.
Dude.
You know, I really want to know what's all is in those tar pits.
There's got to be plenty.
And you can't put any kind of sonar detection in there. It's tar.
Put a camera down there. No. What are you going to see? Darkness.
Yeah, but it fascinates me. What is in there?
People have probably... I mean, there's probably old watches. Things that have been dropped.
Yeah.
All kinds of debris that's just blown in there.
But then what else is in there?
Yeah. Chuck that knife in there.
That gun, that person, I don't know.
Yeah.
So with Clum...
I don't know if they, if they poke around in there with a...
Seems like they should.
With a metal pole every once in a while just to make sure there's nothing floating around.
With Clum coming forward as a witness in July of 1923, detectives finally had enough to arrest Dolly for the murder of her husband. But that still begs the question, how did she get locked in the closet?
Mm-hmm.
So once her arrest made the headlines, a neighbor of Dolly's came forward to police with a rusted .25 caliber pistol.
Uh-huh.
The neighbor explained that Dolly told them the same story she told Clum, but asked that the gun be buried in the neighbor's yard. And they did it. That is what bewilders me with this woman.
This must be the most alluring woman.
She wasn't. I saw her picture.
I know. She
looked like a bag lady.
Looks like a bag lady from the 20s. I think we can say that about her.
I think so. She's a criminal and a possible murderer at this point.
Yeah.
We can say what we want about her.
Yeah. But she's just... But somehow, some way...
She must have had charm. There was that other case that we covered that it was a nerdy-looking man, but he somehow was charming.
Yeah, he had the gift of gab.
Yeah, he could just talk anyone into anything, even though he looked ridiculous.
You know something? We're married.
Yeah.
You know this.
Yes.
But if you came to me with a weapon of any caliber and said, there's some stuff going on, will you just throw this in the tar pits for me? I don't know that I would just go, yeah, no problem, babe. I'd have a lot of questions. I wouldn't get Roy clumbed into this. And the neighbor, just some person who lives next door. Can you bury this gun in your yard? Why didn't
she just do it herself? And then nobody would have...
She's not going to get her hands dirty.
Well, no one would have known.
She's a fancy socialite woman. She has lots of money. She's not going to go dig a little hole in the garden. And not her garden either.
Yeah, but I mean, she could have gotten rid of it some other way.
Oh, yeah, she can't go to the tar pits?
Exactly.
Twice. She has 2 different .25 caliber pistols.
Yeah.
And she has someone else dispose of each one.
I know. Now more people know about it.
Yeah.
So the neighbor had obliged, and the gun remained there for nearly a year. But sadly, because of the gun's state, forensic testing was inconclusive, and it remained unclear that if it was a murder weapon.
And the gun from the tar pits, there's old newspapers and books and such about the case. Mm-hmm. Some say the gun was recovered from the tar pits, but it was also damaged. Some say they never found the gun.
I read that they found it, but somehow they found it. But
half the stuff says it was pulled from the tar pits, but they couldn't get anything from it. And then other stuff says, no, it was lost forever. It was thrown in the La Brea tar pits.
Well, and then I think about that, too. Like, would things, depending on weight, would it settle to the bottom more, or would it get stuck?
And how deep are the tar pits?
Yeah, that, too.
That I don't know. I've been there, and it's kind of nuts.
Yeah, I have not, so I have no idea.
It smells.
You think?
It smells like tar. That whole part of the town is just tar.
All I know is from the LA Noire video game, so that's my experience with the tar pits.
It's just like that.
You don't have to hop across it, though, right?
I did. No, I didn't.
What? Nonsense. Anyhow. While Dolly sat in jail without bond, her criminal defense attorney drafted a motion to dismiss her charges because there was no murder weapon. The watch's reappearance didn't make her a killer, and she couldn't have locked herself in that closet. Before a hearing for that motion could take place, Shapiro visited Dolly in jail, and she had another strange request for him.
So, he didn't dispose of any guns.
No.
But he got a fancy watch.
Yeah.
So he better listen and do what he's told. Because the watch train is leaving the station.
Right. So you'll find out what that request was on the other side of the break. But for now, please enjoy a word about our sponsor, the National Investigative Training Academy. If you are looking for a career change or to expand your knowledge in an already established one, look no further than the National Investigative Training Academy. The National Investigative Training Academy, or NITA, N-I-T-A, has well over 100 courses with 70 professional development ones alone. NITA is constantly adding to their course catalog, and courses are focused on private investigation and security fields. Whether you would like to become a private investigator or you need continuing education for your investigative or security career, the National Investigative Training Academy is for you. All courses offered are 100% online and do at your own pace. Once completed, you will receive a certificate in that course. Sign up today at investigativeacademy.com. Make sure when you sign up for your courses, you mention we sent you there. We encourage you to get the best investigative and security training possible today. When you sign up, mention our brand ambassador code, BA2367. That's BA2367, and you can find those courses at investigativeacademy.com. Look for links in our show notes as well. And we're back. So Dolly begged Shapiro to go purchase groceries and bring them to her home.
Not unreasonable.
No.
But why do you need groceries when you're in jail?
True. When he arrived, he was instructed to knock on the attic door and give the groceries to her half-brother. So this is a new character.
Welcome. Well, is he a new character? We'll find out.
So intrigued by this mystery brother he didn't know of until now. I mean, after all, he is her attorney. He's going through all her paperwork,
and
all the estate, and they're dating. So he should know everything.
He should know if she has a brother at least.
Right.
But he hadn't heard any of this.
But he obliged this just like anything else she asks.
Mm-hmm.
So upon arrival at the home, Shapiro knocked on the attic door, and from the attic descended a ghoulish-looking man in his late 20s by the name of Otto Sandhuber.
What?
Otto was apparently glad to have company, and he introduced himself. That would be a strange interaction.
You think some freak climbs down from the attic? Hey, how's it going?
They're dating.
Yeah, he's been to her house.
He's been there.
They've
probably
done
spent
things.
The night. Yeah. Otto took it upon himself to explain that Dolly had told him all about Shapiro, and he was glad they were finally meeting.
That's so weird.
So as the two men chatted, Otto enthusiastically opened up about how he wasn't actually Dolly's vagabond half-brother. See, and in my research, she would tell neighbors this.
Yes.
And we get to that in a minute more. But she...
Specifically vagabond.
Yes, and specifically she would say he was good for nothing.
Yeah, he just comes and goes.
Right.
He's a bum.
So that was just a cover story that she came up with many years ago.
Many years.
Years, people. Years Otto has been in the attic. Otto attic. Attic Otto? I don't know.
Better than Basement Bill.
So that was just a cover story. And that's what she would explain why he would come and go. Because nosy neighbors would ask.
Mm-hmm.
So Otto went on to explain that in 1913, remember it's now, 1923? So this is,
yes,
so
this
10
point.
years prior.
Yes. All right, so keep in mind, everything you're about to hear, Otto is telling Shapiro, who he just met.
He's telling him of the past.
He's saying, hey, by the way, you're probably wondering how I got in this attic.
How I became Otto Attic.
And this is everything that he lays out. Otto Attic.
It flows, okay?
Yeah, it does. This is everything that this creepy little man
because by then he was very gaunt and pale because he's in the attic all the time.
Yeah, he ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when.
Yeah. Otto went on to explain that in 1913, when he was 17, he worked as a sewing machine repairman at the Ostrich Milwaukee factory, and that Dolly took notice of him.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, she asked Fred, her late husband, to send the repairman to their house to fix her sewing machine. But when he arrived, he found the machine was in perfect working order, and Dolly was wearing next to nothing.
Oh boy.
She quickly seduced him into an ongoing affair, sneaking him in and out of the house, and this led to the half-brother story, which carried on for 3 years, unbeknownst to the hard-working Fred. Poor Fred.
Yeah. Poor, possibly drunk Fred.
But she made him think he was crazy, and that he probably did have a drinking problem,
yes,
but she
by all
made
accounts, he was a hard drinker and kind of a son of a gun.
But I think he was a hard drinker because he was stressed.
He was a hard worker.
Yeah.
And he had to live with Dolly.
Right.
And that...
So I feel sorry for
so far
Fred.
You understand why that's stressful. Yeah, so everything that Fred was worried about, she's lying to him, saying, Fred, there's no one in the attic.
After
there's no
he
one in the house.
like, gave her everything. She just worked in his factory before.
Yeah. Yeah, she was just a young girl that was liked. And he gave her the world.
Yeah, and that's what he gets.
The sewing machine guy in...
Dolly eventually became wary of someone mentioning the half-brother to Fred and decided Otto should no longer come and go, but just move into the attic. I mean...
Real.
That's crazy. I just,
this isn't even... We have not scratched the surface of crazy.
We're getting to it. But, I mean, just... And wouldn't you feel like maybe that was part of Fred's drinking, too? Like, wouldn't you feel...
started drinking more.
Well, couldn't you, I don't know. It seems like you would feel a presence.
Yes.
Like
you're being watched.
Right.
You never thought... Well, he did, apparently, but he thought it was a ghost. True. And then she would tell him, no, you're a drunk.
It's too bad they didn't have a dog. The dog would have taken care of that.
Yeah, a dog would have been barking.
Yeah. But from 1916 to 1918, Otto remained in the Milwaukee attic writing pulp fiction stories by candlelight in his spare time. Yeah. And Dolly would give him food and a stipend, is what I read, too.
Yeah, he'd get a little spending cash.
Yeah. And which he spent on mostly writing material.
Yes.
So Dolly often stayed home from the factory feigning illness so she could stay home and have, a day of lust with Otto in the attic, who bragged they would frequently have sex up to 8 times a day.
He is bragging about this to Shapiro, who he knows of and knows is dating Dolly.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I'd come down from that attic and boy, it'd be a grand slam.
So Dolly helped him publish some of his stories, so he would have a little bit of spending money. He descended from the attic every day when Fred left and helped Dolly keep up with cleaning and other household chores. Fred never went into the attic because Dolly told him it was where she kept her fur coats, and thus she placed a lock on the door and kept the key herself.
Because she wanted her furs safe. So Fred, you don't go near my furs. I don't care if you bought them.
What's he gonna do? I mean,
he's gonna wear
them around. And then I'm like, did Fred ever have a sick day? I mean,
no, I think he would drink and go to work. He had money to make.
In early 1918, Fred came home early and from a party and found Otto in the kitchen, but luckily did not recognize him as the former employee. So remember when he came back from that party, they had an argument at
the beer party,
the German beer party. Yeah, that he came back and that's when he found him. So that's what that reference is. After being thrown out, he met with Dolly, who eventually sent him to California ahead of the Ostrix move so that he could establish himself in the attic of their new home as soon as the place was purchased.
So she gives him money.
But this is my other question with this.
Sends him ahead of their move. Says, just go live in
LA. How does that go? I mean, does he go to the... I don't know how it worked back then. Does he go to the realtor and go, hey, I'm the vagabond brother? And then what
I'll be establishing myself in the attic.
Wouldn't that be relayed to Fred? Your brother-in-law's
here. The vagabond is here, and he's placed his chamber pot in the attic.
I mean...
as is tradition. Because he had one of those.
Yeah. Well, he'd have to.
Yeah. You spend all day and night in the attic. But that's the most remarkable thing.
I know.
He's caught in the kitchen. He's thrown out, so the cover's blown. But Dolly is saying, okay, Fred didn't realize that you were living there. He thought you had just snuck in. He doesn't know that you've been here for 2 years doing this. Right. He just thought, this guy, this must be who's been coming and going.
And then I'm wondering, how preoccupied was Fred that he didn't pick up on more clues?
He's either kind of a fool,
and then
he's a hard worker.
If she did, well, and that's the other thing. Like, if she did have intimacy with Otto that many times a day, would she not be, wouldn't she be too tired for Fred? But maybe he was too tired.
Oh, we'll get there. She had plenty left in the tank for Freddie. She's a insatiable woman, Dolly. But she sends Otto to California with a pocket full of cash, I assume.
Right.
And then she and he would correspond via a P.O. box that they had set up for his publishing his Pulp Fiction stories under a pen name.
Did you find the pen name?
I didn't. I wish I did.
Yeah.
But I want to read some of his books. What if they're good? His little stories. But she was... He had
lots of time to think.
She would mail, back and forth to him from the secret P.O. box.
Right.
And explain, okay, this is the house we bought.
Yeah.
Address. It's got an attic. Sneak in when you can. Live in the attic. And then we'll come move in. And I'll just put all my furs, quote unquote, in the attic. Fred will never go up there. It'll be just like Milwaukee. Everything's fine. And he did.
I know.
And he was just living there since 1918.
It's probably because she kept him, with money and he didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, he was a poor sewing machine repairman and an orphan in his youth. Mm-hmm. So he jumped at the opportunity for free room and board plus frequent sex.
Yeah. The arrangement continued in L.A., with Otto leaving the attic on work days to act as both a boy toy and a housekeeper. Despite their frequent sex, Otto often heard Dolly and Fred making love, but had come to accept it as a necessary evil in order to keep Dolly in the money and himself in the care of his beloved mistress.
So he knew that she was having sex with her husband, of course.
Yeah.
But when he confronted her about it once, she told him, look, I don't have any skills. I kind of suck generally. And you're just...
This is all I can do.
Otto, you're attic Otto. So we kind of need to just keep this going if we want to keep our arrangement. And he went, yeah, fine. I won't bother you about having sex with your husband instead of me late at night in the attic.
So on August 22nd, 1922, Otto heard a terrible argument taking place in the living room, which was not uncommon due to Fred's drinking. This time, however, Otto feared Fred was becoming violent and would hurt Dolly. So, Otto Sandhuber could not stand for this and climbed down from the attic, retrieved two .25 caliber pistols from the Ostrich's bedroom, and charged downstairs to confront Fred. Fred was undoubtedly confused as to why the little man he threw out of his kitchen in Milwaukee was now here in his L.A. home.
Think about that revelation.
And you know what? He didn't have enough time to think about it, though.
No. This all happened pretty quick, but as it was unfolding, wasn't this guy eating a leg of lamb by house 4 years ago?
As he began to piece together what was really going on, he flew into a rage. He and Otto fought and struggled until Otto drew and fired one of the guns 3 times, killing Fred. He and Dolly quickly staged the scene to look like a burglary, and Otto returned to the attic, watch guns, and cash in hand. Officers and detectives came and went, never entering the attic. Why not?
So the attic was accessible, I believe it was in that house, in the Los Angeles house, accessible from...
the bedroom. It was their
bedroom closet.
The master bedroom.
Yeah. There was a little access door in the closet that led up to the attic. So they may not have noticed it, but...
Yeah, but if it's...
tip for any investigators listening, if you're going to do a search warrant on a place, ask
thorough.
the homeowner, hey, any attics or basements here?
Well, or just find it yourself.
Well, yeah, and always check. But if they tell you yes, good,
Yeah.
But if they say no, still look for access doors.
Still look, because that's in a search warrant. That's fair game. I
had a guy flee from me into a house and climb into an attic once.
Oh, yeah. I had to process that house later.
Yeah. Not the one where the guy fell through the roof.
No.
That was a different...
No, another one.
But, yeah, he fled into the house and climbed into the crawl space attic thing. And we thought he had gone out a window until we heard movement.
Right.
Coming from the ceiling.
I remember.
And then we had to hold up on that for like 2 hours till he finally came down.
I remember doing that search warrant later, and I was like, you all better check the attic before I start in here.
Climb up there, make sure he didn't have any friends up there. But we wouldn't have known if he hadn't moved around.
Right. But again, that one was in a bedroom closet.
Exactly.
The access was in a bedroom closet.
And not a walk-in either.
No, it was tiny.
It was a tiny closet that happened to have a little cutout.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
Always check. Look up.
So Dolly bought a new house and moved Otto into his third attic dwelling, even though he no longer had to be hidden from a husband. The attic was where Otto was most comfortable, we assume, and where Dolly could keep him as her plaything while she engaged in more legitimate relationships with the likes of Roy Klum and Herman Shapiro. Bewildered...
Still in the attic.
I know. He must not have had any other skills.
Apparently that's what he likes.
Yeah.
I guess he, a few places made reference to, by this point, after so many years in the attic, he was kind of adverse to sunshine.
Well.
So, no, just leave me in the attic.
Yeah.
I would much rather have an attic. Don't give me a bed. I don't want windows. Nope.
Bewildered beyond belief at everything he just heard, Shapiro left the groceries with Otto and quickly went to speak with Dolly's defense attorney. The attorney told Shapiro to get Otto out of the house, as harboring the murderer she conspired with would probably not help her case.
Yeah.
So for Otto Sandhuber, the fun was finally over.
It is 1923.
Right.
He moved into the Ostrich attic in 1913.
Yeah.
Or in 1916. But he'd been having the affair with Dolly
since 13.
So
for Dolly, however, things were looking up. She was eventually granted bail, and soon her attorney's motion to dismiss was granted due to lack of evidence. Dolly was released, and unless detectives uncovered new evidence to prove her guilt, she was scot-free.
Incredible as well.
I know.
Well, it's just unsolved again. And that case, for now, it's closed.
I mean, I get if they don't have enough evidence, but at the same time, there's too many coincidences and too many...
Well, absolutely.
There's too many weird things that they should have at least kept it open.
The defense attorney... Well, it was inactive pending further leads, if you will.
Which usually means closed.
Yeah, generally. But I think her defense attorney was right. Said, well, you don't have the murder weapon. You have two guns that could be the murder weapon, but you can't prove it, and you admit that you can't prove it.
That's kind of true, though.
She locked herself in a closet and threw the key in the other side of the house from the closet? No. There was too much to say...
Right.
To really bring it to trial. They had enough for the arrest initially, but
not enough for a conviction.
More, this isn't going to go anywhere.
So for some reason, Shapiro wanted to continue his relationship with Dolly, but told her she was forbidden from carrying on a relationship with Otto. She agreed, as long as Shapiro helped Otto start a new life. So Shapiro moved Sandhuber to San Francisco, where he worked as a janitor before moving to Canada, changing his name to Walter Klein, marrying a woman, and then moving back with her to L.A., where he worked at a hotel, having no further contact with his 10-year lover.
So it's a happy end for
Otto.
He got to move to Canada. Who doesn't want to do that? He was a janitor. That's fun. He probably got an attic room at that hotel.
Probably. He had a wife.
Well, everything
she liked attics. I don't know.
Turned up for him.
Dolly.
She was a basement lady. So they met in the middle and had a nice home.
So Dolly Ostrich and Herman Shapiro continued their relationship for 7 years until a rough breakup in 1930. The couple had a dispute over money, and love life crumbled. Shapiro, scorned by the treatment he received from the woman he did so much for, wrote up an affidavit explaining everything he learned about Dolly and Otto's affair, Fred Ostrich's murder, and the cover-up, and the strange sexual arrangement Dolly had with the Batman, Otto Attic, living in her attic.
Yeah, the newspapers, once they got hold of that, well, he's a Batman.
Right.
No, he's Otto Attic.
Yeah. He turned the affidavit over to the detectives who worked Fred's case, and the wheels were finally in motion.
So don't break Fred Shapiro's heart. He'll keep your watch and write up a healthy affidavit. He's
an attorney.
Yeah.
So Walter Klein, formerly Otto Sandhuber, was arrested and confessed to the murder. At his trial, the jury heard that Otto was merely a weapon at the disposal of the dominatrix that was Dolly Ostrich.
Mm-hmm.
He described himself as her sex slave who was forced to do her bidding. The nature of his relationship was similar to that of a stern mother raising a meek son. We are kind of thinking that since he was an orphan in his youth, that she kind of had a motherly presence, so he had probably mommy issues.
Yes, and he was also a virgin teen when he met her.
Right. So when he met Dolly, who was older, motherly, and, she had a high sex drive that a young man would like,
mm-hmm.
that she probably filled all the voids that he needed.
Yeah, that for this young man,
mm-hmm.
oh, that's everything I've been missing.
Right. So Otto became obsessed with Dolly, we presume, and she reveled in the power that she had over him, because she was very manipulative.
She's manipulative. She can talk you into whatever she talked strangers into hiding murder weapons for her.
And to me, for Otto, it was all just sex, and then
initially, but I think it became.
No, I mean from her end.
Oh yeah.
From her end, it was just sex because
she had everything to gain.
Well, yeah, and because she had other relationships with people that were of higher status.
Yes.
So, for Otto,
it was
just a physical thing.
Was an actor.
Yeah.
She would love to. Be an LA socialite dating an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Shapiro's an attorney. She likes that. He's known and respected. For Otto, though, well, he'll do the dishes. He'll sweep. We can have sex 8 times.
Right.
And then he'll climb back in the attic and I go about my life.
Yeah. So, for poor Otto, his story was not enough to avoid conviction. He was tried for murder, but convicted instead of manslaughter. Incredibly, in that day and age, manslaughter had a statute of limitations, which really surprised me.
Yeah.
Because now...
It does not now.
There is no statute of limitations, and if there's a homicide or a suspicious death, evidence has to be kept indefinitely.
Forever. Yeah.
Especially for a bona fide homicide. But, suspicious deaths should be as well.
Yes.
So, there was the statute of limitations, which had already passed. So, despite his conviction...
It was 1 year past.
He could not face any sort of punishment, which, in some way, I'm kind of glad for him.
For poor Otto?
Yeah, because I feel sorry. I mean, he was
reformed himself from the bad boy.
Well, and he was a willing participant, so we can't... But he thought she was in danger.
Right. He thought he was acting in defense of the only person that mattered in his life.
Right.
And so, he may have been. We don't know.
So, to me, he might have been.
He may have hurt her.
The real criminal in this story is Dolly. Yeah. Manipulative and just all kinds of bad.
But don't worry.
So.
No, worry.
Yeah. So with Shapiro's affidavit and Otto's testimony, Dolly was next to face trial. But her case resulted in a hung jury. The district attorney decided not to retry the case because while she could face a second trial, again, the statute of limitations was up, and there would be no punishment for her regardless of the outcome. So in 1936, the indictment against her was officially dismissed, and Walburga Ostrich passed away in 1961, a completely free woman.
And she had remarried.
What a surprise.
Point. And she had her a man. But, apparently, she spent her last few years living in a small apartment above a garage.
Really?
So,
I didn't see that.
In a fun twist, she became Dolly Attic.
Yeah.
But otherwise, got away with it.
That's crazy.
Because this is probably one of the cases that made them go, hey, why don't we get rid of the statute of limitations for murder and manslaughter?
Do you know what year that happened? I don't.
Which, the trial?
No, that they...
Oh, that they made the change.
Right.
I don't.
I don't either, but I'm glad that now...
I double-checked, and California, like every other state, there's no statute of limitation on that sort of thing now.
Right.
So, I think this kind of thing, this probably happened multiple times.
It probably was, of course. It probably wasn't the only time.
And after a while, lawmakers decided, boy, that sucks that we found the murderer after so many years.
We can't do anything about it.
Leave him alone. He didn't do anything as far as the law is concerned.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But, so, my big question is, what the hell?
Yeah, I know.
This is the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
And it happened.
Well, yeah. I mean...
He lived in an attic for, 8 years? From 1916 to 1922? 6 years?
Yeah.
6 years in the attic. But then, he still lived in the attic after Fred was dead. She didn't allow him, and he apparently didn't want to, or she probably told him he didn't want to.
Probably. She probably manipulated that
Stay in the attic. You're drunk, and there's ghosts downstairs. And he stayed up there. She gave him a watch every once in a while.
But
whatever she does to keep men happy.
I think I kind of think Otto was a domestic violence victim.
Yes, he was.
Because
absolutely.
He was,
battered wife syndrome.
Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome.
Like, that's all he knew.
Anything for her. And as far as she was concerned, he was a toy.
Yeah.
He was a pet.
Yeah. And I think, and then I feel sorry for the husband. Mean streak, drunk or not.
Yeah.
Drunk, I feel sorry.
I worked too hard, but
he worked hard.
He didn't deserve to be murdered by...
Of course not.
And then, wife's...
And she probably, was the mastermind, and I'm sure, part of me wonders, did she provoke that argument so that her lover could take out her husband?
Maybe.
Because that would be the way of a woman's mind.
Well, the initial plan, was to move to L.A. for retirement.
I know.
Well, once he got there, Fred decided, man, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
This is great. I'm reinvigorated. I'm a new man. Let's start working again. So after a little bit of that, Dolly probably thought, kind of sick of this, the working life, because she would still help out at the factory a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like we said, she would smooth over arguments that Fred was too
Makes me wonder what else she did
angry
to smooth
and
those
boisterous.
arguments.
Well, it's likely that Otto was not the first lover she had taken.
No.
But he was the first one who went, oh, live in your attic. That sounds great.
Well, but to me, it would not surprise me one bit if she played all the pawns just right.
Yes. Yeah,
and so
she's a chess master.
She used Fred. She used Otto. She used every man.
She used Clum.
Yeah,
she used every neighbor.
She used everybody in her life to get what she wanted, and you know what? It worked. Not saying that she's
not right, and it's not okay.
It's not okay at all.
But it worked.
It worked.
She managed to pull this nonsense long enough that the law no longer affected her. And that is frankly disgusting.
It is.
You know who else drew a short straw? Shapiro.
Yeah.
What a sap.
Yep.
Here's this watch. Bring these groceries to my brother in the attic. And then the brother comes down and says, I'm not her brother. I'm her lover. And I know you are too. Handshake, high five. Here's how I murdered her husband. Wait.
Yeah, I know.
What? And then he just kept dating her. He told her, hey, you can't see Attic Man anymore. Those days are done, but you and me, we're going to have a nice long life together. And it lasted for 7 years.
I know.
I can't imagine having a friend who has a weirdo living in their attic and still being their friend, let alone dating someone.
Or being married.
Woof.
Like, what?
It's incredible. The intricate, ridiculous nonsense
that humans will do.
Dolly Ostrich was able to pull off for so long.
And
that
then,
literally, it was fine.
She had a regular childhood. I don't understand. Like, why did she get... To me, it's a power thing. She's a strong female. She probably got, a little bit of taste of the power, and
she found that this young boy would bow to her.
Yeah. So then she just ate that up because her childhood, it wasn't traumatic.
Mm-mm.
Nothing weird happened, but I think she was just probably strong, especially for that era.
Yes.
And she liked being in control.
And I think that's how she earned the nickname of Dolly, Queen of Los Angeles.
Probably, because we couldn't find any other explanation.
No, but she was referenced as the Queen of Los Angeles many times, and I don't think that position's existed for a while, or ever.
Right.
But now that you won't be able to sleep at night without checking your attic, we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for listening.
Sign the crime scene log on your way out.
I'm Hillary.
I'm Brendan.
Stay safe.
So long.